All right, back at it, and we're doing particles again. And this time, I've we're gonna do Pyro Advection. So it took a little bit of experimenting, a lot actually, to figure this out and how to do it in Blender. I've seen a lot of this stuff in Cinema 4D, and I wanted to figure out how to do it inside of Blender. And with that being said, as I'm flashing this example up of a, all right, so first thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna create a little sphere, so UV sphere, and I'm gonna shrink it down to like 8 inches by 8 inches. So we're gonna use that, and then we're just gonna go up here, quick effects, and we're gonna go smoke, and it's gonna create the domain box for us, and everything is set up. So if I hit play, right now we got some smoke. Okay, now the detail of the smoke is very low res, and so what we want is something more high res, and we want to be able to obtain more turbulence out of this smoke. So at the moment, very low res. So we're gonna edit a lot of these settings, and also we're gonna have the smoke decay kill off a lot earlier so that it's not hitting the top of this domain box. Okay, so as I keep playing it, I'm gonna set my animation to 120 also. So I'm gonna just shorten it and then press the home key here to just expand that. All right, so we're gonna go over here to our smoke settings, and then I'm gonna change some of these settings. So let's look at what we got here. I like to always close everything out so I can see stuff clearly too, by the way. All right, so we're not gonna mess with resolution yet. First thing I wanna mess with is I'm looking for it, noise. Okay, so we're gonna turn on noise, and then I'm gonna turn up the detail to about 4. And so we're gonna see a big difference here, and it's gonna slow down too. So let's start it over. And as you can see, it's playing a lot slower. So I'm gonna, just for video sake, I'm gonna change it to 3 so that we can get through this farther, because faster. Because I want to show you guys how to do this versus, getting a full detailed version. So as you can see, we're getting more detail in our smoke, right? We're adding noise to it to create more detail. And then now what I want to do is I want to turn on dissolve also. And if I hit play again, it's going to start dissolving once it starts hitting frame 5. So as you can see, it's killing off really, really early, and I don't want that. And so I'm going to set it to like, let's play it again, matter of fact, and see where it kind of hits the ceiling. We're going to hit play again, and we're going to watch when it starts to hit the ceiling. I'll set it to front. Okay, so we'll kill it off like at 45. Let's see what happens if we do that. So let's replay it again. And hopefully it kills off properly how I want it at 45. So once it hits 45, now it just starts dissolving. Okay. It's still hitting the ceiling, but that's okay. We'll kill it off with just a little bit more earlier. Okay, so 30, play it again. And we got something that we like. Cool. All right, so let's move on. Next thing I want to do is I just want to see what we got here. So I want to just look at all my settings and see what else we could possibly do. If I mess with anything else as I'm recreating this. So I can mess with the buoyancy, heat, and vorticity. So if I set this to 1 just as an extreme example, I'll show you guys what happens with the vorticity. So as you can see, it's kind of just going everywhere and it goes crazy. So like you can kind of think of that as like an extra turbulence to your smoke. So I can add a little bit of vorticity so it's not going too crazy. So we just add a little bit, maybe more. So it just kind of spreads the smoke out. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at 0.1, matter of fact. I like that. No, actually I'm gonna take it to 0.025. 0.025. So that's our vorticity now. And if I was to mess with the heat, this is how I can make the smoke rise up faster, because heat rises. And so the hotter it is, the faster the smoke is going to rise. So if I do that real quick, we're going to see our smoke rise really, really fast. Right? And it's almost like it's burning like fire in a way. Okay, but I'm going to change it back to 1 because I want it slower for these particles. And then buoyancy, so we'll change that to 0 just to see what happens. I can't remember what's going to happen with buoyancy. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to change that back to 1. So we'll set that to 1. And then, okay, so we're going to go over here to settings. And we got all of our border collisions off. So what border collisions does is it will keep the smoke within the domain. And so I don't want any border collisions. I just want it to exit and not fill up this box. Basically, if I was to have my border collisions on, the box will fill up. And so I'm going to leave that off. And then the next thing I would do if I'm ready to export this out and not export it, but cache it out, I would also turn this to about 64. Okay, so I would set it to 64, and now I got really, really high res smoke. If I was to hit play, I'm not going to hit play because it's going to just slow my computer way down. In the simulation that I did, I set it to 64. I walked away from my computer for about 3 to 4 hours and came back to see what I got. Right. So I'm going to leave it at, I'm going to just not do that now. I'm just walking you all through again. This is just this baseline setup we're doing. And then, so once we're ready, we go to cache and we want to cache our file. So what you want to do is you want to pick a location where you want your cached file to go. Now, mind you, you want to think about space because your cached file is going to be pretty big. Okay, so you want to put it in the location where, like, if you have an external drive, which I do, and I put my simulations on that external drive so I don't fill up my C drive. That's where I put my simulations, and I just keep like a simulation folder for everything so I know where to find all my sims. Okay, so now the next thing you want to do is you want to just turn this to all. And then once you set your location, make sure you have your frame range set up. I got 120 here. And then you just hit bake all, walk away, and, you know, let it do what it needs to do. And once that's done, now you're ready to work on your particles. So I'm going to pause the video and we're going to come back, and then I'm going to open up my particle scene to show you guys how we can set that up with my final smoke sim. All right, so now we're in a different file, and I just want to preface that when I did all this stuff, I did it all in the same file, so I didn't export anything out. All I did was I had a cached file for my smoke sim, okay? And then from there, that's when I started developing my particles in that same file. So I just want to make sure that I'm walking you all through everything, and I'm showing you that final smoke sim that I have myself, that where, you know, I had to let it go for a while. So I'll play this sim. This is the final smoke sim that I cached out. Oh, how come it's not playing? Oh, there we go. Play. Okay. So this is the final smoke sim that I cached out. So this is what we have. Very detailed, very nice, looks good. And then now I can start working with particles, okay? So now I'll show you guys the next step, since now we have our smoke sim. So what we do now is we create a new, I'm gonna duplicate something. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna take this sphere, and matter of fact, I'm gonna delete this because this is the actual particle sim. And we'll just start over so that it's not bogging down my scene. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this sphere and I'm gonna duplicate it. So I'm just gonna press Shift D and I'm gonna scale it out just a tad bit to make it bigger than this sphere below, which is for the smoke. And then I'm gonna remove the modifier it has here. So I'm just gonna hover over this, press X to get rid of that modifier, have a clean sphere. And then I'm also going to go to a front view, set it to wire, and then I'm just going to delete some faces too. So I'm going to delete the bottom portion, faces, done. Okay. And then I'm going to put this in a new collection, and I'm going to call this particles. All right. And so now we're going to set up our particles. Okay. So we're just going to go over here to particles, add, and now we got a new particle simulation. And now we have to do some setup. So from here, let me delete this too. So we're going to delete that too. So that's something else I have to delete just to start over. Okay. So now we're setting up our particle sim, right? Obviously we got our default particles, and just as I do some house cleaning, I like to set it to velocity. I like to see colors, and then I'm going to change the size to 0.2. Yeah, 0.2 works. And I'm going to now go over here, close this out. Again, I like to close out these so I can just see where I'm at. Close this out and set my number of particles starting out, let's say 64, 64K. Yeah, or more. Let's do that. Okay, so that's our particles. And then I'm going to set the lifetime to 120 so they don't die out. I'm going to set the end to 120 so they're going to generate from start to finish. And then I'm going to set, so I got that set, and then now we got to work on our distribution. I want my distribution random, and then I want to close this out, velocity, and then I'm going to turn off, set this to 0 for now. And then go to my physics, take a look at this. That looks all good. And then we're going to go down to field weights, gravity, set it to 0. And then my particles should not move. Cool. That's exactly what I want. So I don't want my particles to move at all right now. Okay. So the next step, once we have our baseline, the baseline for our particles, we want to add a fluid flow. So in our force field fluid flow, we want to add this. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to take what's happening with our simulation for our smoke and have it influence our particles. And the way that happens is once we add that fluid flow, we can go over here and we can add in this domain object. So it's going to ask us what domain object. So we're going to use the smoke domain. So now it's going to know that, hey, there's smoke in here and I need to follow what's happening with the smoke, influence the particles. So if I hit play now, we're going to have a little bit of influence now. So now our particles are being influenced, which is really, really cool, right? Just by that smoke sim. So what we have to do from here is play with the strength and flow to get something we like. Now, again, if you look at Cinema 4D stuff, you're going to see that they're getting these results fairly easy, and you're not going to get what you're getting. You're not going to get what you want in Blender and like they do in Cinema 4D, as far as I know right now. Okay, this is fairly new, but I would love to see other people's experiments and what you're getting, because so far I cannot get all of these elements of smoke. Like I would love to have the smoke influence all of these elements, but so far, I just play with these numbers. So I'll go 4 and see what I get from that. Right. So now it's getting more influence. Right now I'm going to set the flow different. So let's turn the flow up to 2 to see what we get. Okay. That's pretty cool. As it plays through. Nice. Okay, so let's try something different. I'm going to turn this up to 4. I'm going to leave the strength where it is. Okay. Nice. So this is a lot thicker. That's pretty cool. So I would love these particles to just spread out more too. So this is the other thing. I'm going to actually see what this does. Apply density. I can't remember. Adjust force strength based on smoke density. Okay, let's try that out. Boom. And try it again. Okay. All right, so this is what I did too with the particles. So I'm gonna go back to my particle settings and let's see, particles, and then back in velocity. Okay, so this is what I also did. So the normal setting. So this is how fast the particles would jump off the surface basically. So if I set it to 1, I'll go extreme. So if I set this to like 4, you're going to see the particles quickly jump off and then slow down. So now it's kind of inheriting more of the smoke around itself, but now it's being pushed off the surface too fast, and now they're kind of going everywhere. So I'm going to pull it back just a tad bit. So I'm going to set it to like 2 and see what I get now. It's not too bad. It's pretty cool. Let it play back again just real fast, real quick. So as you can see, as a quick setup, this is how we can get advection in Blender. So I'm going to stop here and move on just to the look dev part and then show some material setups. So after this has been set up, right, say we like this and we want to move on, right? I got this cool sim now set up. And so now all I need to do is I got 2 choices. I've done plenty of videos where I export a limbic mesh, right? So I'm not going to do that today. I haven't set it up yet for the video, so I'm not going to do it. But, you know, we can either go the limbic route so that we got our speed back and optimization, or we can just stick with this scene and play with it also, right? So once I have this set up, now I can just turn off my smoke sim as I don't need it. And then now I can start playing with this as a look dev, right? So I can start using a object instance. So I can use a icosphere just to optimize instead of using a regular sphere. So we can go icosphere. I'm gonna turn the subdivisions down to 1. We don't need that many. And then move this back out of cam. And then I'm gonna reference this icosphere. So now I'm gonna go back to the particle, the sphere, go to my particle settings, and then we're going to set this as our particle, the icosphere. So we go here to, where am I at? Oh, viewport display, because I'm going to just preview this through the viewport. So rendered, display as rendered, okay, velocity, and then we need to set our render mode, object, icosphere. Now I got it set to the icosphere. So it's referencing the icosphere. That's what's being produced as our particles now. And if I hit render, which I already have my light set up, let's see what happens. Nothing's showing up for some reason. Let's go to a viewport display, rendered, display, acceleration. What am I missing? Icosphere. Boom, boom, boom. Rendered. Oh, do I have a light? I think I deleted my light. That's what it is. Okay, I thought I still had my light. Sorry, y'all. Okay, so let's turn my light back on. We're gonna add a area light. Just gonna shift it, rotate it 90 degrees. There we go. Scale it up. Right, and as you can see, my viewport's running slow because of all these particles, and it's referencing the icosphere. That's the only thing I don't like about the particles in here, is I wish they could run somehow faster if you're referencing objects and collections. All right, so we got the light. I'll turn it up to like 64. And then I'm gonna add a bounce card on the opposite end. So just move that out of frame, rotate 90 degrees, scale it up. We got our bounce card. Boom, just like that. And then move this up. I want the bounce card coming from, just to kind of give it a rim a little bit like that instead of it lighting it evenly. Doesn't have a lot of dynamic look to it. Okay, and then I'm gonna play with the size of my particles. So I'm going to go back to the particle settings, and I'm going to set this down to 0.01. Let's go 0.02. Yeah, we can 0.015. Oh, scale randomness too, that will help. Yes. 0.02. 0.025. Yeah, that's cool. We can start with that. Let's play with that. All right, and then I'm going to add a material. So right now it's referencing this icosphere material, or the icosphere itself, and it doesn't have a material. So I'm gonna go to shader editor. We're gonna create a new material, and just to ensure that it's working. Cool. So I got a material on there now, and I'm gonna show you guys something new. And being that, right, remember when we were setting this all up, and we could see the particle velocity, right? So the particles were colored from like blue to reds and stuff, blue, greens, and reds. So that's showing the velocity. So we can actually take that information and use it as our color information too. So if I put a color ramp just like that, and then I set that there, and then I also do particle info. That's right. And then I put it on velocity. So take velocity and connect it to I don't know what that FAC stands for yet. Matter of fact, what does that stand for? Doesn't tell me. I'm about to look at the documentation. All right. So if I set that velocity to here, and then now I just do some, I'll just set this to red. So we'll go 1, and then set this to a, say, blue. Like that. And then we just pull this down here to bring it into range. And as you can see, we are pulling that information in to see different color variation. So now we can play with it. So we can do some color contrast, and I can insert another color if I want it too, just as more control. Or I can set it to say constant instead, right? So now I'm getting striations in here, right? Or I can set it back to linear, which I liked. And so like, say I wanted to add a green in this too. And so I'm gonna go like that. Set this to 0, 0. So now we got some greens, right? And then I can bring them in closer too. Like that. And some more. Now if I just play with this some more, so we get easy ease. It comes out different a little bit. Cardinal. B-spline. That's different. That's more subtle. I like that. Constant. Whoa. I like B-spline. That's pretty nice. Go back to linear though. Yeah, so this is very helpful. So you got particle info, this particle info node where you can plug it in just for kicks. I'm gonna see what happens if I did something like this. Index, what do we get? Age, nothing, because the it's lifetime actually. Nothing. Oh, there's something there. Location. So if I pull this back, I can add a gradient on the whole thing. Looks like, yeah. So that's cool too. Let's see if these do anything. Matter of fact, since I didn't have the gradient spread. Okay, so that doesn't do anything right now. Size, since we have randomness in the size, does that do anything for us? I think there's a little bit of something is happening. Yeah, so something is happening but it's so, the sizes are so how can I explain? The sizes, the randomness on them are so small, so it's like you have to pull them so close in. Let's say if I set it to constant, you can see it better. Nope. B-spline. Nope. You can see it a little bit and that's it. Anyway, and then go to angular velocity, that does anything for us. And then just go back to what we had. And just pull the blue back. Too much blue. So yeah, I really love this. I'm really glad that I found out how to do this. I want to do so much more experimenting to see other results I can get now that I figured out how to do this in Blender. So yeah, so that's how you do it. So again, like, I'm hoping to see some other examples out there, and learn from you all too in the comments. Again, thanks for watching the video, and stay tuned for the next one, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.